an all-new Dr. Phil.
Since Autumn's been little, she's always wanted to live in the forest.
No, this ain't the forest. They're dumpster diving for food.
Homeless and brainwashed.
Your daughter is isolated in the wilderness with somebody you describe as paranoid and armed.
I'm going to get the call that something happened to her.
I want to live with the earth, not on it.
You're living in the sand and digging a hole in the ground to go to the bathroom. Let's do it.
Good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. In 2020, the Academy Award-winning film Nomadland, starring Frances McDormand, spotlighted the realities of living without housing. And some celebrities reportedly have tried living off the grid in various ranch houses and farms. But for most people, this lifestyle is not as glamorous as it sounds. Many people live off the grid because they feel what the government and economy offer today isn't what they bargained for. And instead, they're creating their own way of life by living in vans and pitching their tents in parks. Now, Autumn and her spiritual husband, Mark, have been living in the Arizona desert for a year and a half. They say it can be freeing to slip away from the practices of society, but it's also not that easy.
Living off the grid is going to be hard work no matter what. If it's a half-mile walk just to get water or supplies, every single thing is a chore.
We would like it to be more off the grid, but we are still within the city limit.
I don't get to just, go to the bathroom. I have to dig a hole. There are things like rattlesnakes, and there's actually mountain lions out here.
Critters and stuff like that. It actually is.
I think people are attracted to living off the grid because it's an independence thing. You form your own lifestyle.
Well, Autumn's mother, Brenda, and stepfather, Andy, say that while they're deeply concerned for both Autumn and Mark's safety, they think Mark is actually brainwashing their daughter to make some very bad decisions, and it's time for Autumn to pack it up and come home.
I'm very worried about my daughter Autumn and her boyfriend Mark. They are homeless, living in the desert in conditions that are not good for anybody. Mark and Autumn have always wanted to live off the grid.
Living off the grid means you're self-sufficient. You can grow your own food. You can take a shower. They're just homeless, living in the desert.
Autumn and Mark are in such a terrible situation. They don't have a bathroom. They don't have running water. They dumpster dive for food. I believe Mark and Autumn used heroin together. They are both at the methadone clinic. They go every morning. That last time I saw Autumn in August was the worst that I've seen her. She was skinnier. I can tell that she hadn't showered. It just wasn't my beautiful little girl.
Mark is definitely anti-government. Mark believes that planes are flying over him, watching him. Autumn will listen to him with big eyes and take in everything he's saying, even though it's so far out there.
I think they need to get away from each other.
I think he's a manipulator. He's a smooth talker. He'll tell you what you need to hear.
I do think that Mark can brainwash Autumn into thinking anything and doing anything. One of my biggest fears is that Autumn would pass away, and I don't know if he would tell me or not, because I think he'd be scared. I want to help them. I want both of them to get help. I've asked Autumn numerous times to move back home, to move back to Wisconsin. We would help her get back on her feet, but she always says she can't stand the cold. My question for Dr. Phil is, how do I help my daughter get back on track, to be proud of herself, to feel good about herself? I need advice. I need help.
Well, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Well, you've got a problem. And you say the last time you saw Autumn, she looked skinny, unkept, dirty.
Yeah.
It just didn't look like the daughter that you know.
No, I saw her and it was just, my first reaction was, oh, Autumn.
Is this something that she would do on her own, or is this something she's doing because she's hooked up with this particular individual?
Since Autumn's been little, she says she always wanted to live in the forest.
Well, this ain't the forest.
No, it's not. Would she do it on her own? I don't think so.
You say that Mark, who she's with, is kind of brainwashing her, and you describe him as paranoid and a conspiracy theorist?
I think he's very paranoid. I think they worry about things. They're not living their life because of these things that he believes in.
Okay, well, what is it that he believes in? Because paranoid
he doesn't like the way the government runs. He doesn't. He feels people might be watching him.
He feels planes are flying over all the time, watching him.
Well, he's inside Phoenix city limits.
Correct.
So I'm sure there are planes flying over.
Right.
So what do they do for money?
I have no idea. She goes every day to haul, I think it's 5 gallons of water.
Where's she get the water?
From the gas station where there's a refill station.
Okay, so she takes one of those 5-gallon jugs?
She rigged herself a dolly and made kind of like a trailer, and she rides the bike with that hanging behind there, and she goes, fills it up.
Because that's 40 pounds. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, and how far does she go to get it?
She says it's about 1.5 miles.
Okay. And so she goes and gets water, brings it back, and
then looks around for it, firewood.
Okay.
For an hour or so.
And there's not a lot of wood out in the desert.
No.
So where does she get the wood?
She's walking to the post office, wherever she can go to find wood on the way, or dead cactuses.
Okay. And they're dumpster diving for food.
Yes.
Why do you suppose this is okay with her? Okay, you're hungry, so walk into town and climb into a dumpster and try to find something to eat.
I don't know why she does it. She knows better. You know, she used to work.
But why do you think this is okay with her, I guess is my point.
No, I don't think she has any self-respect.
Where is he while she's doing this, while she's walking in to drag back 40 pounds of
I guess he's at the camp.
Water.
He's at the camp. Every time I talk to her, she's like, I'm getting the water. I asked her once, how come Mark doesn't get the water? And she says, he'll do it. He won't do it the right way.
Is he dumpster diving with her?
No. Not that I know of. I know she's the one who tells me I'm going to get some bagels behind the store.
Okay, so he's home.
I think he's at camp all the time.
He's at the camp, and she's out scrounging around.
Yes.
For the two of them.
Yes.
And that's how it's been. Even when they worked, it seemed like she does most of it.
Okay. Now, he's always got a gun strapped to his hip.
Yes.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
Really worried.
And she's carrying a gun.
Now she is too.
Okay. Now, that can make some sense if you're living out in the desert and you walk upon a mountain lion or something. Is she trained in firearms?
No, just by Mark, I think. When we were going there in August, they said, I'm going to be there on your birthday. So her dad and stepmom got her a hotel so that she could be in the same hotel as we were. She asked us, she goes, do you guys want to stay at the camp with us?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to stay in the desert. And she said, I want to show you where it's at. And when we dropped her off, which was the hardest thing for me to do, she didn't want to show us after that. So I think she was embarrassed.
Okay. And where do they shower and bathe and?
With that 5 gallons of water, they may have a little makeshift shower. So I don't think she washes her hair. She just sponge baths.
Okay. Bathroom facility, they just dig a hole in the ground?
Yep.
Okay. Now, you think he's paranoid, so a little out of touch?
Yeah.
And he's carrying a gun in the desert alone with your daughter. That's got you concerned.
That's really got me concerned.
On its face, I've not met Mark yet. I'm just saying on its face, you tell me your daughter is isolated in the wilderness with somebody you describe as paranoid and armed.
I don't know when I'm going to get the call that something happened to her.
Well, coming up, we'll hear from Brenda's daughter, Autumn, who says she has some big dreams, but none include getting a job, which means there doesn't seem to be a path out of the desert. And later, we're going to meet Autumn's spiritual husband, Mark, who says this is the 5th time he's been homeless, but refuses to get a job doing something he just doesn't want to do. We'll be right back.
I'm living in the desert with my husband and dogs, and we have just a camp out here. The biggest challenge is getting normal supplies like water and food.
Tomorrow, her husband's an addict.
We left our baby in an overheated garage, 100 degrees.
You left this person in charge of your children.
It's not happening every single day.
Serial killers don't kill somebody every day.
But mom claims it's her daughter who needs help.
She's doing a lot of the mothering.
She is not. She does help me when I ask for help.
You just said I don't help. Which is it?
That's tomorrow. Then, on Thursday.
An alleged scammer accused of making women fall in love with him only to steal their life savings.
The accusers speak out.
He's a very sick person.
That's Thursday.
Autumn and I, when we talk, she sounds more distant now, more scatterbrained. You can hear the sadness, the disappointment in her voice now.
On our last trip, Autumn wanted us to see where she lived. She was so excited for us to come, but when the time came, she said no.
I think that she was embarrassed of where she was staying. I know Autumn is hurting, and I know she wants out of the situation, but she's so stubborn that she won't admit it.
Well, I'm here with Brenda and her husband, Andy. They say they're desperately worried about Brenda's daughter, Autumn, who is living sort of off the grid. I mean, they're in the city limits of Phoenix, but parts of Phoenix that are still in the city limits are very much out in the desert. I mean, just uninhabitable, really. It's just sand and more sand. No job, no money. They believe that Autumn has really been what they call brainwashed by her partner, Mark, to make some very unsafe decisions and adapt a very kind of dead-end lifestyle. But when you talk to Autumn, she disagrees.
I'm living in the desert with my husband and dogs, and we have just a camp out here where we stay. Growing up was really good. My family's always very close. I did start getting in trouble a lot when I was younger, partying and things like that. The first time I tried heroin, I was 19, and it was with my ex-boyfriend. I told him to go find me pain pills because my body was cramping up. He left, and 30 seconds later came back and said he couldn't find pills, but he could find heroin. I tried it again the next day and the next day. Mark and I are not legally married, although we consider ourselves married. This last year, we met a Cherokee woman, and she said, I can tell you guys are soulmates. And she made us hold hands and binded our wrists and said some words in Cherokee, and afterwards said we were married. Every day, first thing in the morning, we go to the methadone clinic. The biggest challenge living out here is getting normal supplies like water and food. It's a really long walk. The thing I'm the most afraid of living out here would be if there was some kind of medical emergency. We just don't trust the government. We're supposed to have a bunch of freedoms, and we don't really have those. I'm living off the grid, and I'm in control of my day. I spend almost all of my time with my husband and my dogs. I'm a lot happier now than if I were to be in an apartment, spending most of my waking life at a job.
Well, Autumn joins us virtually from Arizona. So, Autumn, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm here with your mother, Brenda, and your stepfather, Andy. So they're very concerned about you.
Hi, Mama. You're already crying?
Yes, I am already crying.
Yeah, they're very concerned about you. Should they be?
I don't think so. Not nearly as much as they are, I guess.
In order for us to make connection with you, we arranged for you to go to a hotel where there's a Wi-Fi and everything so we could talk to you. So you're inside with air conditioning and plumbing and a bed and all of that. How is that for a break from the desert?
It was really nice.
Do you miss that?
Sometimes I do. Not so much, though, that it's something that I feel like I need to go look for.
Right now, you and Mark are living out in the desert you've just kind of made a campsite. You've got a shell of a camper out there. It's not working. You don't have any electricity to it, no plumbing connected to it or anything. So do you sleep inside it?
No, only because it needed a lot of work when we got it, and it still needs a lot of work. And I'm terrified of spiders, and in an enclosed space, they are closer to me.
Right.
So, no, we actually made kind of like a teepee tent out of tarps, and I prefer sleeping in there.
Does it get cold in the desert at night?
It does. It gets really cold. But we have a fireplace like in it. It's made like a teepee. There's a chimney. And actually with a bunch of blankets and me and Mark and the dogs in the bed, it's not that bad.
What's your plan? Where are you going to be a year from now?
That's a great question. I'm honestly not sure at this point.
You're on purpose living, quote, off the grid because you say you feel like the entire system, the capitalist system, has robbed you from being able to be self-sufficient. Is that right?
Sort of, yeah. If it's robbed me of anything, it's the I never learned how to live off the land.
How is that the capitalist system's fault? I'm not sure what you mean.
They put me in school as a kid and had me do whatever, and the whole thing is to eventually get a job so that you can make money to have a shelter and everything else. And that's just how it's been for a long time. If this was not the case, I would have been, you know, with my family, and things like hunting and gathering, that whole lifestyle, that is ideal to me. The way like Native Americans lived, that's perfect.
And you say that you don't want to spend time working on a job just so you can live indoors and make somebody else rich.
I worked so long, so many hours, over full time, and could barely pay rent. But right before losing my last job, the company had just had a celebration on how they'd made more than ever. So the owner of that company and all the people at the top got all these extras. And after being there a year, what they gave me was like a 12-cent raise. So I just know that I'm at the bottom end of things. And I always will be, because I don't have an education.
And you want to have a farm where you grow your own food and be self-sufficient, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I want to live with the earth, not on it.
Okay. And are you waiting for somebody to give you a farm?
No. I understand that. I guess I'm waiting for me and Mark to kind of come up with the plan, I guess.
I told her, you can't grow a tomato in a day. It's going to take 60 to 90 days, you know. There's no plan. It's just Autumn lives for the next 10 minutes.
When we come back, Autumn's partner, Mark, who is also going to join us, says he gets along with Autumn's family, but has issues with the government and with capitalism. We'll hear what his issues are when we come back.
We came out this far because of a situation where we were almost robbed for a bunch of our guns. So this was the safest place I knew that we could take my camper, park it. My truck broke down, and now we are here.
Mark has a big influence on Autumn. I don't think it's healthy. Autumn is the only one who's getting the water, who's getting the food. And I always say, why are you always the one doing this? She goes, well, he was tired. He's sleeping. He's got to stay with the dogs.
Sometimes I think Mark has brainwashed Autumn because she will do whatever he tells her. She would follow Mark to the end of the earth and jump off.
Mark doesn't motivate her because he doesn't want to go get a job. I think he kind of makes Autumn feel like they don't have to get a job or go to school or anything like that.
My mom wants for Mark to take her role of kicking my ass into gear and forcing me to do certain things, but Mark and I are equals. I have to want to do something, or I'm probably not going to do it.
Mark says, no, he loves Autumn, and they'll always follow each other because their ship is going in the same direction.
Autumn and I and our two pups, Smokey and Blue, are living about a half a mile out in the desert. I lost my job in 2020. Autumn lost hers within weeks after that, I think. I worked as a night shift cashier, lost my job stopping a robbery. I carry a sidearm, and company policy says you can't carry a firearm while on shift. We came out this far because of a situation where we were almost robbed for a bunch of our guns. We had like some issues with some people. It was a dangerous situation. So this was the safest place I knew that we could take my camper, park it, and it would be far enough away to where it wouldn't be a lure for these people to come and hit me again. My truck broke down, and now we are here.
Okay, Mark is joining the conversation virtually from Arizona as well. Hello, Mark.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for joining us. We've been talking about y'all's life situation, and I'm curious, are you Are you happy where you are and what your circumstance is, or are you wanting something different?
Well, I'm happy with who I have, and I'm happy with my family. But with our circumstances, no. I don't think anybody would be.
Yeah.
We're caught in between our values and beliefs, addiction, and poverty. So, I mean, it is what it is. We definitely want to change it, but...
What do you want to change it to?
Well, I would say, well, if we could live off the grid and do it right without the methadone clinic being a ball and chain, that's one. It's easier said than done. I've definitely had my tries at that. And then it comes down to the financials. If you want to live off the grid, a lot of people think it's just going out into the wild, but it isn't. You need the right gear.
Yeah, it'd be close to what we're doing right now, but more efficiently and easier, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Are you on methadone to stay off of heroin just like Autumn is?
Yes.
Okay, so she was on heroin when you met her, or was she on methadone when you met her?
No,
neither. She wasn't. Neither.
He's 11 years older than me, so
yeah, I've actually been an addict for quite some time.
How long?
When we met, well, I started smoking pot when I was like 12, 13 years old, but hard drugs, as far as heroin's concerned, 20 years old. I'm 40 now. It hasn't been straight through addiction the whole time to heroin. I've been on and off the methadone program for quite some time. When me and Autumn started dating 7 years ago, I had hit the streets, and it was the first time I was on the streets with a beautiful young woman, and I felt there was a lot of dangers out on the streets for her, and so I brought her back to Wisconsin, kind of kicking and screaming, but told her that even if your family doesn't accept me when we get there, I was worried for her safety, and I'd turn around and drive home if that was the case, as long as she was safe.
But I started heroin without him. We weren't dating yet, just kind of separately.
Okay. How long have both of you been going to a methadone clinic?
4 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
The methadone clinic is definitely on the grid. You're walking into town and getting water, and that's on the grid. So you're kind of on the edge, right?
Most definitely.
And do you have any kind of plan to transition from where you are now, which is just basically homeless, to being self-sufficient, where you have a quality of life much better than what you have now?
Well, we had some ideas, but as of recently, I just started applying for jobs again.
At least one of us get at least a part-time job, even if it is at a crappy minimum wage place.
Well, I've got some questions for Mark that I think are really pivotal for me helping to figure this out right after the break. We'll be right back.
I do think that Autumn feels entitled. Autumn would love to have a piece of land, but she won't put in the time and the work for it.
If I could just work some of the time and still afford enough to save and actually buy land, then I would do it. But it's not that simple. You go to work and you spend the majority of your waking life there, so I'd have to be miserable in the meantime. And I'm just not willing to compromise that anymore.
She doesn't feel like she needs to put the sweat and the hard work into anything. It should be just given to her.
I've even thought about taking an entire state and trying to secede from the United States and having my own independent nation, but that's also hard to do.
Mark, here's my question for you. I know that you very much care for Autumn, right? I mean, you love her and value
Most
her,
definitely.
right?
Most definitely.
And just man to man, I'm really curious how you square up the fact of not providing, protecting her better than just having her live out in the middle of the desert. I know that you want to have something different. I know you want to have, say, a farm or a situation where you're self-sufficient. But until you can get there, how do you go to sleep every night knowing that the woman you love is cold on the sand out in the middle of the desert when you could do something that would provide better until you can get to what you guys want?
Well, the way I'd answer that is, for one, me and Autumn's relationship is really open. So it's kind of like, it's like this. Autumn, would you like me to have a job, or would you like me to be with you all day?
Yeah.
And I'd honestly, she knows damn well, I'd go and hustle it in a second for her.
He's asked many a time. He's like, are you sick of this? Do you want me to go? Do you want to leave here? And
she wanted to do this prior to us ending up in this situation. And I was like, you're out of your mind, pretty much. Have you thought about a lot of the hardships here? And
if you want to be together so much, why aren't you going with her when she goes to get water and wood and food?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. For one, if we were to do that every time, we would be looted so damn quick. There are other people out in this desert. One of us has to stay. Also, Autumn's armed, and nobody else out there, because they're all a bunch of addicts too.
Yeah, repeat my question. If you're out there in an addict-infested area where you gotta be armed in order to walk a mile to get some water, what the hell are you doing there?
Well, for one, in America right now, almost everywhere is an addict-infested area.
That's not true.
It is true.
It is not true. I'm asking if you guys have thought of any kind of a plan, like working as a couple at a ranch where you're out in the elements, where you're helping with animals, where you're doing things like that, where you're at an animal retreat or an animal rescue or whatever, where the two of you are together, but you have a place to live and you're still out in where you want to be, living independently, where you could have a garden, where you could do things, where you could stair step to a better standard of living than what you have. It doesn't take much to improve your situation. You can't fall off the floor.
No, most definitely. Most definitely. And it's something we do have to work on. We don't have a ride right now, but we can get around that. It would take some walking.
And I can tell you they need help. I'd be happy to introduce y'all to people.
That would be awesome. And we would jump on that.
We would, yeah. If we can get there, that would be amazing.
There's always hope. There's always a plan if you're leaning into it. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back and meet Autumn's sister. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on Dr. Phil. Her husband's an addict.
We left our baby in an overheated garage.
She's doing a lot of the mothering.
She is not. She does help me when I ask for help.
You just said I don't help. Which is it?
That's tomorrow.
I tried to help Autumn in any way that I can. And I give her advice. I'll buy her groceries when she's hungry.
Brenda coddles Autumn way too much.
I sent Autumn a book. I said, I will give you $1 for every chapter that you read. I even tried looking for jobs. I looked up dog walking jobs, part-time receptionist jobs. I will send her 20, 30 jobs on an email. Does she read them? I don't know.
She doesn't want to say, wake the heck up, because she doesn't want to lose Autumn.
Sometimes I feel like I enable it. I regret not pushing harder.
Well, I'm here with Andy and his wife, Brenda. Autumn and Mark have been living sort of off the grid, the fringe of the grid. They're without housing. They're without jobs for the past year and a half. They're making do. Autumn's younger sister, Caitlin, says she's even thought about going out to Arizona, picking up her sister. Take a look.
I don't judge Autumn for wanting to live a nomadic lifestyle. In fact, my husband and I wanted to live van life, and I don't find that a problem. The way that they're living off the grid right now, in my opinion, isn't a safe, suitable way to be doing it. You still need to be able to supply yourself with basic needs, like running water, food. Autumn does have a very carefree attitude, which does cause her to be reckless and get her in dangerous situations. In December of 2021, I got a phone call from my mom because we were all concerned that Autumn had passed out due to heat stroke. While she was in the hospital, after they released her, she made it about a block over where she passed out again of heat stroke. Putting Autumn under conservatorship has definitely been a consideration in our family. I have thought about driving out to Arizona, grabbing Autumn, throwing her in my car, and bringing her home and telling her, you can hate me, but we're going to take care of you. I'm afraid of having to bury my sister, and that's been my biggest concern. Sorry. Autumn could be doing so many things. It's phenomenal how amazing she is. And to think that this is where she is right now it's just heartbreaking.
You're concerned about your sister.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
What's your biggest concern for her?
Autumn's reckless. Autumn, you know that. But knowing that she's alive is nice. Or, you know, knowing that I don't have to worry when I wake up, like, is she okay? Because I haven't heard from her in 3 weeks. Or when I got the phone call that she had passed out, I can't tell you how scared I was, you know, and I'm going to turn into mom here and start crying. But, like, seriously, it does scare me because I don't know what's going on.
Mark, let me ask you this, and this is a quote that I wrote down from you. You said, I just see a system of slavery. It's unfair. We have to give up 1/3 of a paycheck if we work, then get some GMO poison-filled food to eat, and if you have kids, you have to give them up at age 5, and then at age 18, you can have them back. Want an apartment? You'll get overcharged for rent just to keep the money machine running.
It was a very sarcastic, but a sarcastically true way of my viewfood on the system.
Impact on society.
I get to take that little bit that's left of my check and do what with it? Buy food that, I mean, the crappier it is for you, the more names it has on the back of the label that you can't pronounce, the cheaper it is for some reason. Yet if it's just an apple, organic, bam, all of a sudden they overcharge you for it. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Your little science experiment hot dog, shouldn't that cost freaking more money than it's just everything's ass backwards? And,
well, I've got a response to that, and I'm going to give it to you right after the break. We got to take a break, and I'm going to respond to what you just said. Here, don't forget, not only can you email me your questions and stories on drphil.com, but you can also text Phil to 88500 from your cell phone. That's Phil to 88500. I look forward to hearing from you. S20, and we could not do it without you.
If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area and would like to watch a live taping here in the studio, go to drphil.com and click on Be Part of the Audience and select In Studio.
While Autumn and Mark claim living an off-the-grid lifestyle makes them happier, how does one emotionally cope when they don't know where their next meal is coming from and they don't have a plan for improving their situation? Now, I'm going to talk to you from a psychological standpoint for a minute. And, Mark, I heard everything you just said, and it's real easy to criticize and a lot harder to come up with an alternative plan or a solution. And I think it's really important to fix your own life and your own situation before you start solving the world's problems. And right now, you're living in the sand and digging a hole in the ground to go to the bathroom. And there's got to be a lot of gray area between the capitalist machine and living in the sand. Now, there's got to be somewhere in between there that makes some sense. And I don't presume to know everything that you've been through in your life, or Autumn, all the values and beliefs that you embrace, but I do know this, that when you go through life, if you don't have something that you're passionate about, you don't have something that you aspire to, then you're stuck. And it seems to me that if the two of you value self-sufficiency, you don't want to go work in the capitalist machinery, that you've got to decide, okay, we want our own farm. We want to be self-sufficient. We want to grow our own food without chemicals. We want to do this. We want to do that. As soon as you can afford that, I think you ought to do that. And until you can, you should do it by successive approximation. You should get as close to it as you can, and then take the next step closer, and the next step closer, and the next step closer. And if right now the closest you can get is living out in the desert, then what's the next step? And I'm suggesting the next step is go get a job as a couple working on a farm or a ranch or a place where you can do the things where, Mark, you don't feel like you're selling poison to the world, where you're actually doing something you can believe in, where you're working with animals, you're working with the soil, you're working with things, but you're also creating a standard of living that you can be proud of, that you like, that you don't have to worry that you're going to get snake bit or shot in the back of the head.
But I'd never even considered the possibility of working together at all. I didn't even know that was a thing.
You just got to open your mind to it and not just criticize. You got to say, I'm open to these sort of things. I think it's time to get organized and make a plan. We'll be right back. Our website and subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, live strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today. I've said what I have to say, Autumn, to you and Mark, and we're going to be in touch with you guys, and I'm going to seriously make some introductions for you guys to have some opportunities to look at, because I think you're closer to going to a next level than what you think, doing some things that I think you would love and embrace. Totally up to you.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is be open to it, and your world could look a whole lot different in a short period of time. So I hope you'll be open to it, and let me make some introductions.
So yeah, that would, we would love that.
All right, great. Thanks so much. Good to see you guys.
Thank you so much.
I think that's the best next step you could make right now. And I can make some introductions to some people that would give them a shot.
Okay. It would be awesome.
I can just tell you it would give them a shot. It would get her out of the desert into a place with a shower and a bathtub and 3 meals a day.
I want her to feel good about herself.
Yeah,
I hate when she tells me, I go, why do you go so late at night to get water? She's like, because people are going to look at me. They're going to know I'm homeless. Yeah. So
I think, don't you think some of the places that we work with and support?
Oh, it would be ideal for them. These places are so beautiful, and they live in their hearts, and they're helping the beautiful animals and the children in need. Yes.
Yeah, we have 2 dogs from one of these places that we rescued and brought home, and they were really
so
small
cute,
little puppies when I brought them home, and then they turned into...
They were so tiny.
There they are.
Yeah, that's them. I could hold one in each hand when I brought them home, and now you can ride them. That was them when I brought them home, and then they grew up. That's Einstein and Blue. I really will get them in touch, and we'll see if we can't move them in that direction.
Thank you so much.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to thank my guest today. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. And if you have somebody in your family that is stuck like this, you don't like the situation, let me tell you, don't approach them with you should, you must, and you need. Approach them with you deserve something different. You deserve something better. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, where you will hear important conversations that can help you and your family live life to the fullest. Check out Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw, where she is having a lot of fun right now, celebrating her 100th episode and bringing back some of her most interesting guests. You can check them both out for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next time.